Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome back to another edition of Connect with the Quran. And inshallah, we'll be looking at Surah Tawbah. But just for you to know, this is the only surah which doesn't have Bismillah Rahman Rahim as its title to start. So, as you noticed, even with the Qari, when they read, they just start with A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajim and then they go straight into it. So, Bismillah. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي ربي زدني علما ربي يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير يا فتاح يا عليم. May I say only what is appropriate to the beauty of Allah's kalam, and may I only be able to convey in a tiny portion of the beauty of the of this surah. So it is considered a difficult one. It's considered because it says baratu min Allah, and that means like the a declaration of immunity has been declared to the pagans that from now on we will have nothing to do with each other. You sort your act out in the next few months, and if you don't, we're going to come after you. So that treaty. Now let me go back a little bit in history. So our Hijri calendar starts from uh, when the hijrah happened and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to hijrah to Medina. So that's how they decided that that's what it's going to be. In the second year already, they went into this massive battle, the Battle of Badr, and it was at that time Rasulullah just made the dua, Ya Rab, to safeguard your deen, you really need to help us and protect us for this battle that has come upon us. And we've done the history of how it came about and so on. And Allah's mercy, they gave them a beautiful victory. And in this previous surah, when we did Surah Anfal, it was a bit of commentary of this after this beautiful battle that we had, and it was the first defeat for the Quraysh because in Makkah, the Muslims were constantly downtrodden. They were told not to retaliate. They were told not to fight. They were told to just do and strengthen your iman, your aqidah, your basics. So, and so the Quraysh were thinking that they were really the big lords, just like it is today in politics, whoever's on the top, they think they're it. And with the Battle of Badr, it was the first setback. Now, between the second year of Hijri and the ninth year of Hijri, when the conquest of Makkah happened, it happened eighth year of Hijri. In those years, the Muslims now, because they have their own space. This is why, having your own space, your own Medina as a fledgling Muslim community, you're able to strengthen. When you are, even if you're surrounded by everybody else, but if you have your core Medina Munawwara, why is it the enlightened city? As that was being developed and as a fledgling society, the strength that was coming from inside, be it after Battle of Badr, be it Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam being there were things that they had to sort out a lot. That's what came up in the earlier surahs of Baqarah, Al Imran, in Surah Maida, in Surah Nisa, all those things about consolidating. So now in Surah Tawbah, it's come down in the ninth year of Hijri after the conquest of Makkah. So what happened between this time? Um, Muslims were gaining ground. The Quraysh were shocked that how can they be getting more influence, and so it was in the year 6 of Hijrah, after we've had the Battle of Badr, we've had the Ghazwatul Badr, the Ghazwatul Uhud. We've in the 6th year of Hijri, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wanted to go for Umrah, and the Quraysh still felt no, you can't come, and so on. So they stopped at this place, Hudaybiyah, and under a tree there was this treaty signed, and which initially seemed very. This is again a very beautiful historical moment which we need to always imbibe when we think we are at the receiving end, we are suffering, we are not doing well. You really need to know that there is a mercy in everything. In every what looks like a shar, and I love this phrase, in every shar there's the potential of khair, and in every khair you need to watch out that it doesn't end up being a moment of shar. So in other words, whatever you see, when we see we don't have influence, we are downtrodden, we don't have any, the baseline is with Allah. If we have Allah cares for us, we are pleasing to Him, then we don't need to worry. If this kuffar, they think they're getting the upper hand of us, they are, wanting to make a mess of us and everything, as long as our iman and things like that stay intact, then we're on the track. So on this battle of at this Treaty of Hudaybiyah, Umar Farooq radiallahu anhu, all of them, they were so depressed and they couldn't believe that we're not going for Umrah, B, we've signed this treaty which seemingly all we are submitting to their conditions. And I'm just going to go in the history because it's beautiful, and in sharing it, it's just a reminder for of just of our iman for ourselves, of how these moments. So what happened was, when they were signing this treaty, writing it down, um, they wrote something like Bismillah Rahman Rahim. I'm not sure if even if they objected to that, but when they wrote the treaty between the Quraysh and Muhammadur Rasulullah, so the Quraysh person who was in charge, and you can look up his name, they're so smart. They said, hey, we don't accept you as Rasulullah. If we had accepted you as Rasulullah, we wouldn't be having this treaty. So you just write Muhammad Ibn Abdullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We say, but that's how they wanted. Now it was already written Muhammad Rasulullah, and they're saying no, you cross that out. And so the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to their scribe, I think it was Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu, that you take it off, and they can't. They it's you can't undo it. The honor and the respect they felt for him. So then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had to ask. He said, "Tell me, where is Rasulullah written?" And then he scratched it out, and then they wrote that he's the son of Abdullah. So this was the treaty. So look how, why I'm sharing this is these mechanisms, these contriving and connivance, and the way people act, whatever is going on in the Muslim world, of feeling the attack on Muslim countries, or any leader we presume is good and well, and how he gets attacked, or how even they get assassinated, or whatever happens. Look at all this is going on. Anyway, so this was the Treaty of Hudaybiyah in the 6th Hijrah. So from 6 to year 8, the treaty implied that we're not going to kill you, you're going to not kill us, we're going to have a peace treaty. And it allowed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to now be sending out dawah missions, to be able to go and um, send to other alliances to talk to them about Islam, knowing they're not going to be attacked by the Quraysh. So we're getting alliances. The Quraysh are making their alliances, anti-Muslims, anti-Islam, anti-Rasulullah, and we, the Muslims, have got their own. So this goes on and on. And what happens eventually is that one of the allies of the Quraysh, and I've talked to you this about before in brief, they broke the treaty. They had a skirmish with an ally of the Muslims, but it was they who started it. So the treaty breaks. Now the Quraysh are coming because they sort of feel vulnerable, and that they feel the power of the Muslims going up and they are on the down. Um, that they want to come and say sorry, and we can just atone for it, but we don't have to do more than that. Whereas no, the treaty is now broken. So this allowed the conquest of Makkah to happen in 8th year of Hijri. So 6th, the Hudaybiyah treaty was signed. Already in 2 years, it was for 10 years, I think, the treaty, or for a longer period. They broke it. So Alhamdulillah, in 8th year of Hijri, we had the conquest of Makkah, where with about 10,000 or whatever, Rasulullah went. And by that time, so just what in those 2 years, which the tide shifted. The tide shifted, and this was possible. So, but anyway, we're just going to take a pause, and I've just only covered a fraction of what there's so much in this surah, but I thought it's significant, it's important, and we need to remember that treaty whenever you're feeling down and out and feeling that the world is all against us. No, Allah in His mercy, He has the best of plans, and things work out for the best. So I'll come back after a break, and inshallah we'll take it further. So hang in there, renew your intentions, and come back wanting to know more about our seerah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. We're looking at Surah Tawbah, and I haven't even gotten to the first few verses, which I just wanted to give you a background, and just also a background only of the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. So let's consider that covered of what that allowed, and we have that in Surah Fath, which will come later, that it was a victory, and yet we didn't perceive it to be a victory, the Sahabi, and they were really despondent at that moment. So again, look for the long haul, look for the long run. Yes, there's a setback, but in this setback, there must be a mercy. And again, for me, the take home message as to connect with it is this was at the large picture of what happened historically, but take it home for you in your individual life, be it at work, somebody else gets a promotion, you don't get the promotion, something of that nature. So relate these events to how you can take it home. Badr, how few people conquered many more people. What was the strength of it? It was the strength of Iman. And the second, in Uhud, maybe a little bit of complacency made us have a seeming setback. But in the setback, there was growth also. And so it was with the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, which led to the conquest of Makkah in 8th Hijri. And this surah is 9th Hijri, these first ayahs. And let me just read you the first ayahs that when it starts with a declaration, bara, there's great significance in the meaning. If you want to go into the lugha of it, of the meaning of what it means, it's now we are exempt from having to do with each other. So the translation that I have just says a declaration of immunity from Allah and His Messenger to those of the pagans with whom you have contracted an alliance is there. So you tell them they can go around for 4 months backwards and forwards throughout the land. But no, you cannot frustrate Allah by your falsehood, and Allah will cover with shame those who reject Him. The third ayah says, an announcement from Allah and His Messenger to the people assembled on the great pilgrimage on the Hajj, that Allah and His Messenger have dissolved a bari from all obligations with the payments. If then you want to repent, it's best for you. But if you want to turn away, you cannot frustrate Allah. Again, that phrase is repeated, and proclaim the grievous penalty to those who reject faith. And the ayah 4 till where we heard the audio was, but the treaties are not dissolved with those who you entered an alliance and who have not subsequently failed you in aught, no aided others against you. So those non-Muslims who don't stab you in the back, who are not actively engaged in being against you, with them your treaty, you fulfill your engagements with them to the end of the term. If that treaty was for longer than right now, then that's. But for the others, for Allah does not loves the righteous people, those who maintain their treaties and all these things. So what all this is going to say that when these ayahs came down, Fatah Makkah had happened in 8th Hijri, 9th Hijri, Abu Bakr Siddiq took the first Hajj of Muslims to Makkah. And he had already left, his caravan had already left, and these ayahs came. So now what had to happen was that uh, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sends Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu after the caravan of Hajj to let them know of these ayahs. Because it's like, Hajj is a big event, so there these ayahs of this surah have to be announced so everybody knows. Because till then, Hajj was the Muslims went, all the other Arab tribes came, whether they were Muslim or not. So it was a declaration on that Hajj, you're coming this year, but from now on, all this area is gonna be cleared up and you can no longer be coming here. That's the essence, me saying it in those words, but that was the gist of what was to be. That's why this proclamation had to be made at Hajj. Now, look at the other beautiful thing, the background here is that Abu Bakr was the leader of the Hajj, and he's going. Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu is coming with the message, and the protocol of those days, and maybe it should be back now, is with all this social media running around and you just hear anything about authenticating. So when you send an important message, like Rasulullah sent this important message to the Hujjaj, to Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, the first thing Abu Bakr Siddiq asked, are you here to be the leader, or are you here to follow me? So I'm paraphrasing, but and so Hazrat Ali says, no, I'm here to follow you, but I do have a message for you. So from that, from these tiny, and this is from a hadith, all this is not in the Quran, it's just with reference to these four ayahs of what happened, how these four ayahs were taken on the Hajj place. So the beautiful thing is, look at the protocol, the way things were done, that you check. I'm sitting on the seat, and a beautiful somebody else comes, and then you sort of ask, don't you need to be here? Isn't this? And then they say, no, we're just here to listen, or whatever it is, to give you this reminder. So whoever's sitting in the seat needs to also remember and think, I'm not here forever. I'm here today, I may not be there tomorrow. Yes, by Allah's decree, whether we are good, righteous people, religious people who are sitting on a platform where they have a clout, with people will listen to them, but that care needs to be taken of never letting our ego think, this is my bench or my seat forever. Around table conferences, somebody sits at the head of the table and they think, but as soon as another messenger comes straight from another beautiful source, you ensure that doesn't he? I don't know. I love that significance out of that little passage from there, and so that's what was uh, taking place there when they came to this Hajj. And then this was announced. So after these 4 months, uh, so I'm just now going to read a bit that when Hazrat Ali was sent with this announcement, and it was customary that a family member was going to give the announcement. So when he caught up with the caravan, Abu Bakr Siddiq asked, are you here to lead or to be led? That was what it was. So subhanallah, so we always operate with discipline, understand unified leadership, and Hazrat Ali immediately responded that he's under Abu Bakr Siddiq's command. So the Muslims understand the value of the change of command, and interestingly, this is instilled in us even in our salah. So when you have the imam, whatever he does, if he makes a mistake, you're allowed to say Allahu Akbar and correct him that way. But in the meantime, that's what you have to do. So that's a story there of these first three ayahs. And now I want to go on, or I'll go on a bit later into, because it's a beautiful long surah of how there's goodness happening, and yet the so people are becoming Muslims because we are now the the greater power to be, or the one that's coming up, but hypocrisies also. So people are in surface becoming Muslim. They are overtly saying, because now the winning team is us, and so we need to be with them. But there is resentment and hypocrisy. So at the same time as this was happening, there was one of the people of Aus and Khazraj, and uh, he was a mushrik of the Medina tribes, and he became a Christian, and he became a monk, and now he was forever working against Islam, and even those who became Muslims, he was like of his maybe his own tribe, whether it was Khazraj or Aus. You'll just double check on that. And he was sort of instigating them always to rebel. And I'm going to work with the Quraysh, and we're going to rebel. And we've had other occasions when we saw that the Jewish tribes, which had a contract with the Muslims in Medina, they also were trying to rebel and then side the enemy, which is being traitors, and that's how they were expelled eventually. So he was more and more, and now that we are getting more and more consolidated, what he was suggesting to the Muslims in to the hypocrites of Medina was, be ready. I'm going to come. Okay, the Quraysh have now failed. I'm going to the northern areas, to Heracles or whoever, and we're going to come and get these Muslims and so on. So you just be there ready for us. And when I send my emissary, and when we come to attack the Muslims, you're going to be ready for us. So this is one background. The other background that happens in this surah, and I'll go to that and then come back to him in a next moment, is that we have this expedition to Tabuk. So that is also significant, and that also historically is a long story that is covered through ahadith and things. But again, with the hypocrites, our Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's policy was not to have confrontations. If they are offering you excuses why we didn't go to battle or why we didn't do this, he would just say, okay, okay. That's how he would accept it. Whereas with some others who were decent, good Muslims, they also were decent enough to accept we don't have an excuse. We don't have an excuse. What we did was wrong, and really, we have no excuse for not coming with you on the expedition. So I'll cover this in a next episode. But for the moment, just to tell you how the difference of hypocrisy and everything. One, so watch myself when I don't do something within the family home, and then I'm making excuses. Oh, but the power was out, or this happened, or that happened. Watch my own behavior in producing excuses. And sometimes the honest, you tell the truth and face the consequences. And Allah, by His decree, in telling the truth, there is more mercy and barakah than in conniving and trying to wean your way out of making excuses. So I'll just leave it there too, because mashallah, it's a long surah, and I feel I've only covered a tiny portion of just giving you a tiny bit of overview, and not even that maybe. But there's a great depth, and we need to try and imbibe it always of connecting for us. Where is it taking us in our life? So there I'll end for today, and may Allah make it be whatever I've said be acceptable to Him in first and foremost, and be of benefit to my listeners out there, and for myself also may be a moment of re-strengthening our iman. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun al mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.